Yo, what's going on? Welcome back. This is Rapology, your favorite rapper's favorite podcast, and I'm your boy Maurice.
This your girl DJ Star City.
All right, so what's going on? This is episode number 7 of the Rapology podcast, and what's going on with you, Sai? How you doing today?
Man, I'm feeling great. It's a beautiful day in New York. Again, I feel like the energy in New York is really doing what it's supposed to do. It's giving me that summer vibe. So,
Oh, yeah.
definitely feeling good. Definitely getting ready to go to work, go DJ a birthday party real quick. But yeah, how about you? How you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Everything's good. Can't complain, But before we get started, I also wanted to talk about the fragrance that I'm wearing on today. Since we talking about classic shit, this is a classic men's fragrance. So, fellas, if you're listening, if you haven't heard, if you don't know about Creed, this is called Creed Aventus, a very popular men's fragrance. Smells real good, compliments and everything like that. So it's definitely a classic. I was wearing on yesterday Louis Vuitton Imagination, another great smelling fragrance as well. Compliment magnet. The ladies love it. It's just a great fragrance. So fellas,
Listen,
definitely get these in your collection. If you don't have them, definitely trust me. You will love them. They smell great. Compliments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we keep bringing you guys this great content. These are our opinions on what makes an album a classic. So let's get right into it. So when you think about a hip hop classic, you think of course, you think of the Illmatics of the world, Reasonable Doubt, by Jay-Z, Outkast with Aquemini, even Kendrick Lamar with Good Kid, Mad City, Kanye West's first album, College Dropout. These are some of the classics that we have been defined in hip hop culture. Biggie, of course, with Ready to Die. Tupac, All Eyes on Me. I can just keep going on. Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. All these albums are considered to be hip hop classics, but what defines a classic in your opinion, Si? Like, what do
so
you look for?
for me, two things for sure. The first being the replay value. If I'm not spinning this album, next 5 years from now, it can't be considered a
Right.
classic. I feel like people are so quick to like call it classic as soon as it comes out, and it's like, yo, you gotta let the project breathe. Like you cannot come out the gate saying a project is classic. So I think it has to stand the test of time for sure. The second thing being like consistency. Like for me, classic always albums have always started with like consistency from beginning to end. We think about classic albums like Supreme Clientele, like clearly classic from beginning to
Right.
intro to outro. Also, I feel like classics often have like great intros. Like some of the most classic albums have like phenomenal intros that you always remember. So for me, those top three things for sure is what makes a classic. Like the replay, the consistency, and like a good solid intro that like brings you in for sure. And concept, like again, honorable mention to like having a concept album. I also think that's like a lost art because people just be putting albums together. But like when you
Right.
mentioned Good Kid, Mad City, a lot of other classic albums we think of concept.
Yeah,
You know what
great
I'm saying?
concept album. Good Kid,
Yeah,
Mad City definitely
yeah.
check that box as well. I agree with that. And for another thing as well, I think the word classic get thrown around too loosely in hip hop these days. I think everybody think it's like every album is a classic in hip hop. I think if you're a fan of an artist, like some people say Drake got a classic album. I don't really agree with that. Yeah, an album can be good. It could be even a great album, but is it a classic? Classic got to be held to another standard. It has to check, like, it has to do more than have album sales and all that kind of stuff. Because album sales and where it charted on the charts means nothing in the realm of hip hop classic. Because some of the most classic, legendary hip hop albums are not big album sales, have big album sales, or charted well on the Billboard chart. So take that out of the equation. So I don't agree like a artist like Drake has a classic
So
album.
you can sit here and tell me that So Far Gone is not, and you always got me sounding like I'm capping for Drake. I promise you, every episode it's like I have to defend Drake, and
Yeah.
I hate this for me. I legitimately hate this for me. But you're telling me that So Far Gone is you would not consider that like,
I definitely wouldn't consider that a classic. I would consider that a great album, good project, but classic. I don't think I wouldn't think that checked the box because I actually wrote down seven things I think that you must have to
okay,
be considered a classic. And I think you got to check these boxes. If you miss one of them, I don't think an album can be considered a classic. And once again, it's my opinion. So you let me know. You guys let us know in the comments, what do you define a classic album and
please.
what is your benchmark and everything like that. But here are mine. First, similar to what you're saying, the culture impact, like what impact did it have on the culture? Like, how did it shift the culture when it came out? Like, you think, like I said, with Good Kid, Mad City, or Get Rich, Die Trying, when 50 Cent came out in 2003 and he dropped his debut album, it just shifted the culture and everything his way. Like, it just moved different. Like, that's why I think you got to start there. Like when Snoop came out in 1993 with Doggy Style and The Chronic the year before that in 1992. All these are legendary classic albums. And so that's my first thing. And then the second thing I have, how the time, like how timeless is it? 5, 10, like how you would mention, 20 years from now, will we still come back to it? The replay value, like what's the replay value on it? Like, I don't think a lot of albums now have that. Like, they're great for the moment you'll listen to them, but then again, would I be playing this in even a year from now? Like, some albums you don't even go back to. So you definitely got to have some replay value with it being a classic. So the third one, I would say critically acclaimed. Yeah, it must be critically acclaimed by the fans and by your peers, music journalists, and everybody like that. So it must pass that test. So it got to be critically acclaimed as well. Can't get no negative reviews. Can't be nothing. I didn't put no.
Wait, you can't get any negative
I
reviews
don't
up?
know. No, that just
Oh, okay.
it must. Yeah, it got across the board. It got to have great reviews. And as far as that no skips thing, I don't think no album really have no skips. I don't think. I think every album. Yeah, I
Oh,
agree with
this
it. I
is such.
think no
I
album
never knew this
is
about
a
my
perfect
co-host.
album. Even the Blueprint by Jay-Z is one of my favorite albums. But I think I think it's a whole lot Veto album. I mean, the song number 7, I think, on the album. I think that's a skip. Yeah, I think that's a skip for Jay-Z. And it's a great album. It's a classic, and I think it's Jay-Z's
That's
best album.
crazy.
But I think track number 7, the Timberland produced album, I think he could have left that off of there.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And okay, let me go through my list again real quick. I don't want to go too long. And number 4, the influence. It got to have influence. It got to inspire other albums or other people to sound like this album or shift the culture towards that sound of that moment. Yeah. So it got to check
Yeah.
that box, the influence. And then cohesiveness of the album. Yes. It has to
Yeah.
be a full experience, not just hit singles. It just had to be a full experience, the vision behind it, everything, the storytelling, the theme, and all that as well. So that's the 5th thing. And number 6, which I think is the most important, it would have to be the lyrics and the production of the album. The bars, the beats, the hook, the concept, top tier storytelling, and all that kind of stuff. The lyrical complexity, emotional vulnerability, everything, all that stuff. I think it has to check that box at number 6. And the 7th and final thing, the reception over time. It kind of basically the same thing as timelessness, like going back to it and everything like that. So those are my 7 pillars that I think that defines a hip hop classic. Would
I
you
feel
agree?
like
Like, what do you agree or disagree with that?
so. I don't know how to start. Okay, so you have a very strict list, which it should be strict. I'm not saying that every album is a classic just because somebody says it is. It
Right.
definitely requires, a certain standard and quality of music. So, like when I think about the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, classic album.
Another classic. Yep.
To me, a classic album defines a moment in time, which is why I'm going to stick with what I'm saying about Drake and So Far Gone, because that defined a moment in time where singing rap niggas started, like that was the inception, that was the birth of, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying, that type of music that we still hear 10 plus years later. So for me, I get you. Impact, how it's received, the quality in the music, how it's defined, sound. I think especially with that music, that's what makes College Dropout so unique. It's like it defined a moment, it defined a culture. It creates different shifts in hip hop.
Right.
Like I think um like Eric B and Rakim, like they were the bridge between like the Run DMCs and the Nas and the Jay-Z. Like their album defined, a time.
Right.
And it pushed the culture forward. And so that's for me
Right.
another really great element is how does it push the culture forward? Like from a sonic perspective, sonically. So that's me. But I get
Yeah.
it, you know what I'm saying? As a true hip hop head, you're gonna have a very stringent and defined list, as you should. But all of that to me sums up to like how did it shift the culture and the sound of where we hear music today. And again, that can only be, I think we agree on the idea of timelessness and like that is the key component to all of this. It's like, because I remember when I first heard D'Angelo's album, this isn't necessarily hip hop, but another classic album,
Yeah.
I think in
Which
the hip
one?
hop
Which one?
space.
He got 3 classics, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Voodoo. What was the first one? Brown Sugar, I
Brown
think.
Sugar,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm thinking of Brown Sugar. And when I think about that album, it was like I liked it at first, but over time, like I've started to really, really appreciate that album and really love it from top to bottom. And a good classic album is gonna make you the songs that you initially thought you were gonna skip, you're gonna go back to those records and be like, oh, I actually like this joint. So like the Ola Ovito, like I can sing that and I get what you're saying. Like I used to skip that too, but now it's a part of repertoire. Like I can't not, you know what I'm saying?
I still
I
play it.
can't not sing the lyrics.
Right, right, right.
Exactly.
It's catchy, and I still play it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I still play it, but I still think he could have left it off the album, and I don't think it was needed. I
But
think it was
I think
unnecessary.
that's what makes a classic album a classic. It's because it's like even on those albums that you like theoretically you would have skipped when it first came out, but when you
Right.
go back and you keep listening to the project, you'd be like, oh, actually, this is now you found yourself not skipping it, and then now you know it, and then now it just becomes like part of the full body. A good body of work is gonna make you appreciate everything and all of the in-betweens. But that's what makes it so difficult for a classic album to be classic, is because not a lot of albums can make you like a song or remember a song.
Right.
Because again, even though you may not like that song by a lot by Jay, you know it. You know
Yeah,
what
you
I'm
know
saying?
it.
Like that's what a good you know it. Good
Yeah.
and bad in between. Like you know it. And so I think that's what a good album will do.
Okay.
That's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Do you have an album that probably wasn't a classic, but you come back to and you're like, okay, now I think I was a little late to the party. This is truly a classic hip hop album. To me personally, I don't think it's been a classic album in a long time. I don't think is albums still important? Like, do people even care about albums anymore? Like, is it just the song that people want, a few songs, a few singles, or because like I said, is people still going back playing these albums, like all this new stuff, or is it necessary?
I feel like it's hard to say again because we haven't let the albums breathe like in the
Yeah.
last 5 years. So I'm thinking of like albums that were released 5 years or before. Not really. No. Not really. Because like when I think about the projects that came out between like 2010 and 2020, like I wish I had a full list in front of me. I couldn't even remember like what really stuck out to me. I mean, you have projects like Alfredo by like,
Damn,
Freddie.
you reading my mind. I was just thinking about it.
Yeah, honestly, like I was like, okay, there are. And so, would you consider like, you know, Fredo by Freddie Gibbs a classic at this point? Because when was that released? Maybe like 2021.
Yeah, I think it's
Nah,
2020, somewhere
was it?
around the time.
Okay, okay. So that's still within the window of
Yeah,
like 5 years. But when I think about a classic album, like recently, I think about that album.
Pray for Paris. I would say Pray for Paris by West Side Gun. That was
Yeah,
I don't know if they were classified as a
but it
classic.
wouldn't classify
You
it.
wouldn't?
So that goes back to the question of, does a classic have to be critically acclaimed? You know what I mean? Like maybe that's something I might disagree with, because a classic album could be classic even though not everybody knows about it. Pray for Paris is not a popular. It's not. It didn't change hip
And
hop.
then
You know what I
shift the
mean?
culture.
Right. I don't think it did. I mean, I agree. I love the project. I love everything that Westside, has done since then. But I don't think that on a mass scale, it's not a dinner table album.
Right.
People are like, oh, let's pray for Paris. If you know hip hop, then you gonna know. If you listen to it, you know what I'm saying? If you tapped in, like for sure. But like, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I
Let me
like Pray
see.
for Paris. I think it's a modern day classic within the last 5 to 10 years. We don't have many of them, but I think it's a good. Do you think J. Cole has a classic album?
Yes. See, what is it, 2014 or
Oh,
the
Forest Hill
album?
Drive.
Forest Hills Drive, yes.
My
Yes.
favorite J. Cole album. That's my favorite
Yeah.
J. Cole album. But is it
Yeah.
a hip
You know
hop?
what I like My Beautiful how can I forget about Kanye's like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy? Might be
Kanye got a
considered
couple
like,
classics in his discography.
yeah.
You know?
That one is like what, 15 years now?
Yeah, it
It's
came
like
out
15
20.
years old. Yeah, that one is absolutely to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's my favorite Kanye album, by the way. I think My Beautiful
That is
Twisted
a
Dark Fantasy
beautiful
is
work of art.
definitely a classic.
Yeah, that's a beautiful work of art. So there, I think so. I think we do have them. I think it's just a matter of we'll know if these projects were really classics if 10 years from now people are sampling them. I think that's always like a good test of time of like, are people still sampling this? To
Hmm.
your point, like, are people still going back to this and playing this on the radio?
Right.
Like, can this still get the same reaction that it did 10 years ago that it will now? Like, does it translate generations?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like the thing in hip hop, like great rappers like Jadakiss and Fabulous, everybody says no matter how great they are, and everybody agree that those guys are nice, but everybody seems to think consensus in hip hop that they don't have a classic album. Like Jadakiss don't have a classic, Fab don't have a classic, and I agree with that. They have good albums. Of course, they have great good
Soul
albums.
Tape is not considered like,
I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't put
no.
as great as Fab is, as great as Jada is for
Uh,
them. I don't think they have a certified hip hop classic. Now it might be a classic to the individual or far as a hip hop fan of theirs, but far as to be a universally recognized hip hop classic, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And I know it's
very
crazy is
interesting.
that sound because both of those guys are nice. They are nice wordplay,
Yeah.
out of this world. But far as like a classic album from both of those guys, I don't know.
Jadakiss? You mean like as far as the whole this?
Yeah, discography. And I like Jada Kiss album, Kiss the Game Goodbye,
Yeah, I was
Kiss the
about to say,
Death.
Kiss the Gang Goodbye is absolutely,
You think so? I mean,
and Kiss the Death.
that's what makes this a good conversation. Is an opinion. It's opinion based. It's opinion. Everything is opinion based. But I expect that.
Oh, so I guess maybe some of these albums have skips on them. So then by definition, these are all about to be out of
Yeah,
your category because they got skips in them. Theoretically speaking, maybe possibly. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't think nobody gonna throw a Jadakiss album in the class. And I hate to say that because
that's
I mean,
crazy. Y'all let us know in the comments.
yeah, let us know in the
I really
comments.
think
Do
most of
Jadakiss
this
or
myth.
Fabulous have a classic hip hop album?
Yes.
Not a good album. Now, I know people, they'll come say, "Hey, man," but yeah, it's a difference between good and great and classic. It's the prestigious of them all, and I don't think they do it, and they don't take nothing away from them. They are dope. They are great rappers. But I don't know. I wouldn't put them in there as a classic album as a class. I can't find one that I would say is a class that check all those 7 things that I just said.
Well, according to Maurice's checklist,
Yeah, it got to check those 7 boxes. If it don't check those 7, I don't think it's a classic. It must meet that criteria, in my humble opinion. You let me know
insanity.
what you think. It's like Harvard, Ivy League school. They can't let everybody in. They gotta have stricter restrictions.
Why? Okay, so why is there such a why is classics such a beheld, like, why can't there be a lot of classics? Like, not to say that it should be like easy entry, but like, why does it have to be like this elite? Like,
It got to be elite class. That's why the source
the
was given
Soul
out
Tape
by
is,
Mike.
I'm going with it. Street Dreams is fire too.
Yeah. His mixtape run and stuff, like I said, his albums and stuff. Fab, he got some hard work. But like I said, I can't give him the classic title, not of yet. And I pretty much heard all Fab albums, but
Crazy.
do you think?
Crazy.
I think the criteria got to be stricter though. Everything can't be a classic. I think Eminem has a classic album with his second album, the Marshall Mathers LP. I think that could be considered a classic. I think it fits in that 7 criteria things that I listed. He has
Okay.
storytelling on there. He has the bars, the beats, the production. It shifted. The culture, whatever that means. I know a lot of people don't like give Eminem his credit, but yeah, I would say Eminem has a classic album.
Yeah.
But not every rapper is an elite class. If every album is a classic, then what's the point?
Not every album is gonna be a classic.
If you listen to people on social media, they be throwing that classic word out there. Everything
I
is a
agree. Everything is not a classic. Things have to really stand the test of time. And just because I'm gonna say this, just because you love an album does not make it a classic.
right,
Like,
right,
I think that's also very important to know. Like, a big part of this conversation is cultural impact. Time and impact, I think, are 2 pieces of the formula that it has to have.
right.
Soul Tape, For me, you don't. I mean, I don't know. Did Soul Tape have an impact?
I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say. I don't think it fits that criteria. You know, like I said, that criteria is cultural impact, timelessness, critically acclaimed,
Moving
influence,
it forward.
cohesiveness.
It's about movement. It's about forward movement. Take Care might be on there. So Far Gone. Take Care. Between those
Take
two
care.
are
That's
my.
his.
That was like the official. I think that was like this. Maybe that was like official album. Like I don't know. What's the mixtape? What's the
Yeah,
album?
take care
Because
was. I mean, take care
yeah,
was.
Take Care was an album for sure. I don't know if they consider like So Far Gone like a
I
album
think
or a
that's
mixtape
considered a
though.
mixtape, if I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken.
think so too. But yo, so far, but Take Care has got to be considered a classic album.
That's the closest Drake has to a classic, in my opinion. But it's just don't quite make the classic criteria. We gotta be hard on him, man. You
We
know,
do.
I don't think so. You know, like Kendrick told him in the beef, man. My first shit was a classic. Like my last shit was a classic. Something how he said you don't have
Yeah,
one. You know, Drake don't have a classic, man. Yeah, it's a good album.
that was false.
Do you
That
think
was a
so?
false statement.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know,
Take Care.
it kind of brings me back to when Jay-Z was dissing Nas when he said Nas only had one great album up to that point, and that was Illmatic. I think that was false. You know, it was written, was dope as well, you know. Because, you know, when he was like, you know, that's Illmatic, your second was I, you know, he was
It
downplaying
was
Nas. Everybody
that
knew
was
that was
crazy.
false.
That was false. And exactly, it was written as a classic album. It stood the test of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. You know, some people have, I've heard people say that they think It Was Written was better than Illmatic. I don't agree with that. You think so?
I don't think so, but I can see how.
You can see how people can say that.
Mm-hmm.
I know
For sure.
LeBron James said It Was Written. He'll take it over Illmatic. That's his favorite Nas album. So I ain't mad at that.
Yeah, it was
You know?
yeah. But
Yeah, I
I
ain't
mean,
mad at it.
people was just choosing sides, just like it did with Kendrick Lamar and the Drake. So I hate that I have to be the one to cap for Drake or cape for Drake, but that's crazy. It's
So
crazy you
Drake
got
got
me
one?
doing these type of things. Ugh.
Okay. I mean, I agree, but like I said, classic, you know, I don't think
Yeah.
they're making no classics no more, man. You
Oh,
know,
good though.
artists don't
Yeah.
care. I think the closest thing person can do it is Kendrick.
What about Doechii? We can't see her
I can see
projects
her. I
ever
could
since
definitely see
time.
her making a classic album.
What about Tyler the Creator?
I could see him doing it. I'm not the biggest fan of
I'm talking
Tyler. I
about the
like Tyler,
projects that
but
have
his
been
last
released
album was
already.
great.
So like, yeah, I'm thinking about projects that are currently being released that are in my favor of, after some years
I
that
think
would go.
basically since you missing Doechii, I think she got a miseducation of Lauryn Hill potential up her sleeve, as far as the album is, because I think she really can make a certified timeless classic album.
You don't think Alligator Bites Never Heal? You
That's
don't think that one
I
was it?
would think that. I mean, I'm probably going to say I think it's too early to call it a classic, but
Well, right,
it's
but I'm
critically
saying
acclaimed.
like possibly, yes.
Yeah,
I
it's
think like
possible.
possibly, there's Nicki Minaj. Yeah, you can't say Nicki Minaj don't have a classic album, can you?
Nah, I
See,
can't.
now I think we're being biased.
I like Nicki. Okay. I'm gonna
And I
be
don't like Nicki.
transparent.
Like that's the
I've
thing.
never listened to a
I've
Nicki
gotten back
Minaj
into
album
Nicki.
all the way through, so I'm not gonna say she don't. I'm not gonna say Nicki don't. Nicki is nice. Nicki is dope. I like some of her stuff, but as far as listen to a Nicki Minaj album all the way through, I
Like
never.
Hardcore by Kim.
That's a classic.
That's a
That's a classic.
classic.
Classic album cover, by the way, for the fellas, everybody.
Impact.
Impact. There you go.
Impact.
Check
Thousand
the
Other Ladies,
impact.
because everybody's Kim for Halloween.
Yeah.
So, but then
Yeah.
everybody's
See.
a Barb for Nicki. So
Right.
Impact. That's what we're talking about here. Now I agree. I've never really cared for Nicki Minaj's projects, nor have I listened to that project
Right.
forward or backward. Not gonna lie, but I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that like she put out Pink Friday, and Pink Friday to me seems like that might be, I don't know, in the category of a classic
It's
album.
possible. It's possible. Like I said, I'm not gonna speak to it. I'm gonna be very transparent. We try to be very transparent here. You know, I've never really listened to a Nicki Minaj album, so I can't say either way. But
we have to talk about that. We have to talk about
and I like Nicki Minaj. I think she's dope. She's an amazing artist, amazing. You know, I see some Nicki Minaj in Doechii, however you pronounce the name. But
yeah.
I see some of
her own being.
Yeah. I like her. She's dope. I think she definitely have a classic album in her.
Yeah,
A few
she
of them.
does.
A few of them.
Yeah, she
She's
does.
very talented.
She's fire.
and
She's
creative. Yeah,
fire.
lyricist.
Okay, so let us know in the comments, like, whose album has been released that could be in the running for a classic potential
Yeah.
in the future
Yeah,
over time.
exactly. You know, the class is like only built for Cuban links, man. That's and Mobb Deep album, the infamous Mobb Deep, which turned 30 years on Friday. So
Well,
30
shout out
years
to
old.
my
Yeah, Mobb
rest in
Deep,
peace,
Shit
Prodigy.
Ones Part 2, one of my favorite
Yeah.
albums. Shout out to Prodigy for that sample flip and that beat. Those to me, like I said, those are classics, you know?
Yeah.
And both
Yeah.
of them. So yeah. But all right, well, yeah. Speaking of, like I said, this is a classic episode. We talking about classics, so I guess we're gonna shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about Mass Appeal Records. If you're not familiar with Mass Appeal Records, that's the label that's owned by Nas. You know, they recently came out and basically was saying that they're gonna be releasing 7 albums from 7 iconic hip hop artists. And on that list that they're going to be releasing, all these albums supposed to be released this year, 2025. Nas and Premier album supposed to be being released as well. A new Big L album, a new Mobb Deep album. I'm excited about that new Mobb Deep album. And who else? A new Raekwon album, a new Ghostface album. Said rumored to be Supreme Clientele Part 2. Definitely interested in that. A new De La Soul album as well, supposed to be released, and a album from another unknown hip hop icon that I don't think they released yet. So, with all that being said, those 7 acts, who are you most excited to, hear and listen to? Because this is for the hip hop heads,
For
right
sure.
here.
I think I'm most excited to listen to Ghostface and Raekwon. Like I think I'm excited for
Nice.
those two because yeah, they are both still elite and still working. And it's not I feel like yeah.
Okay.
Like when I think about their features on like the Summer Walker record with Ghostface and the one he had with Kendrick recently, I was like, nah,
Yeah.
like this is still, you know what I'm saying? Like this is still fire. Like
Yeah.
he can
They
still
still got it.
give it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you. So
yeah.
yeah, nah. And then the chef, like, yeah, like they both working. And I enjoy their sounds. Like I enjoy their raps and their delivery. So for me, those are two like
As the ones you
I'm ready for those two projects,
most
yeah.
anticipated. Okay, I would say that. Of course, for me, I think the obvious one, the Nas and Premier,
See,
collaboration.
yeah, yeah.
I
I knew
was,
that was coming.
yeah, exactly. Of course, I'm interested in the new Mobb Deep. I want to see what I know Havoc and the Alchemists are producing that, putting that together. So I'm interested to see how they're gonna put that together. And I would say Big L, for me as well.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't think they had any more Big L music, So hopefully it's some
yeah,
unreleased material. I hope it's not one of those albums that they kind of put together like how they did with
yeah,
Biggie, and just
yeah,
made a bunch of songs that was already out and just put
yeah,
like guest features on there, like remixes and stuff. So I hope it's all original material. But either way, I'm still excited to hear it, from
yeah.
Big L and everything. One of the dopest lyricists of all time, So
Mhm.
yeah, those. I mean, I'm excited to really listen to all of them. De La
Yeah,
Soul, legendary, and then whoever the unknown, iconic, a legendary rapper or group or whoever that they said that is gonna be released. So, like I said, I'm excited. Like I said, this is for hip hop artists, hip hop fans. This is not for streaming numbers and Spotify.
right.
It's not for the Billboard charts. This is for pure hip hop heads, people that love the art, love the culture, love rap. And that's what I think Nas is doing it for. So shout out to Nas,
Shout
and
out to Nas.
everybody.
Master Pill is always doing it for the culture.
Yeah,
I'm
doing it for
telling
the
you,
culture,
like
They showed up
they're
real
always
big.
the powerhouse, yeah, behind
Yeah.
like a lot of the things we've seen to celebrate hip hop. I mean, without Master Pill, I really don't know what brand would really be out here pushing the true culture. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
putting on events and like really
Remember what they did for
releasing
Hip Hop
projects.
50? Yeah, Hip Hop 50 and what they did for that,
Exactly.
Shout out to them,
Who
man.
else would have? Yeah, who else would did that?
Yeah, shout out to Nas.
We're huge Nas fans on this
Yeah,
podcast. I
we
be
use
trying to get
Nas
away.
fans, man.
I be
He
trying
pushing the
not to
culture.
like overdo it.
Yeah,
Can't just
yeah.
say like you can't help it.
Yeah, can't help it. But yeah, those are the artists and everything like that the 7 artists that will be releasing on the Mass Appeal this year, 2025. So check that out. Be on the lookout
Did
for that.
they say like what's the timeline on like the first one?
I don't think they said. They just said that all the projects are expected to be released by the end of 2025
Okay.
this year.
So we
So
I'll get them soon. And then I hope when they release like back to back so we can just Get our reviews out the way, and then we
Right,
have
right,
the
right.
rest of the year to like debate like which one's is the best one.
Yeah, you know what? Of course, we're gonna come back and discuss each and every
Yes.
album. Of course, it wouldn't be right if we didn't do that. So yeah, but yeah, we're gonna gonna leave it at that. So shout out to Mass Appeal, shout out to everybody, and let us know in the comments. What do you think is a hip hop classic? Any new music you've been listening to lately? Anything you've
Um,
been rocking with?
yeah, so I've been actually listening to this new project that was released back in March, and I'm tight that nobody told me about this sooner. By No Idea and Saba. Shout out to Chicago. Shout out to my hometown. Phenomenal project, top
Right.
to bottom. If you have not heard this project, like by all means, please let me get the name for you because I've been listening to it and I just been letting it go. It's called From the Private Collection of Saba and No ID. So phenomenal project, top to
Okay.
bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, big ups to No ID for that one.
Big up. Hey, shout out to him. And for me, I've been you got it pulled up, you want to say?
No, no, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I've been listening to the a new single by Jadakiss, Pusha T, and Swiss Beats from the Godfather of Harlem soundtrack. And the name of the song is called Danger Danger. A great song, great production. Shout out to them. That's what I've been listening to. And I just been listening to Little Brother, Loving It. I just love that single by them. That's what I've
Yeah.
been rocking with riding out too. I've been listening to Pound Cake for Drake featuring Jay-Z as well. I've been listening to that.
Wow, you're listening to some Drake?
Yeah,
Oh
I like
my God.
Drake. I like Drake,
Jeez.
So those is what I've been listening to, some old stuff. And Blackout, from DMX second album featuring the Lots, Jay-Z. So that's what I've been listening to.
Okay, so you had been listening to just like some classic singles.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically what I've been listening to
Yeah,
lately.
nah, I feel you.
Riding out too.
Yeah. Now, like I said, if you get a chance to listen to the Sovereign Project, definitely, please. When I think about it, I'm like, that project reminds me of like what it felt like to be in like the 2000s, like early 2000s, like Kanye was coming out and like you had, Lupe and like, like again, it's produced by No ID. So
No ID.
it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's got the soul, it's got the sound, it's got that Midwest like feel to it, but like the good, you know what I'm saying? And being from
Right.
Chicago.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah.
Easily. But if you like, I mean, hey, you like Little Brother, you like hip hop, you into that kind of thing, definitely check it out for sure.
Okay.
I've been listening to it all week.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
you got it or you
I do have it. I have it pulled up for sure.
right.
It's got a few notable features on here too. Like it's got BJ the Chicago Kids, got Raphael the Sadiq. I actually love this record called Crash with Raphael Sadiq and
Nice.
Kelly Rowland. That joint goes super smooth. Introducing some new talent, Jean Doe. She's rapping on this song called 30 sec shot chop 30 sec chop. It's kind of hard to like pronounce it because the way that it's spelled, but it's
Right.
track 12 on the project, and yeah, that one goes super hard. So I love that he is introducing new artists, and got a few good ones that we know about on here. So again, it's a project top to bottom to
Okay.
me.
I got to check it out. I haven't listened to it myself, so I'll definitely check that out.
Notable song, West Side Bound Part 4, Future MF Mello,
Okay.
which is a Chicago artist as well. So yeah,
Nice.
definitely
That's dope. Okay.
enjoy.
I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Well, okay. I guess we'll be signing off from this a week's episode.
Definitely.
Like I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share, everything like that. This is Rapology. I'm your boy Maurice.
That's your girl DJ Sai City.
We signing off. We'll catch you guys again next
For
week.
sure.
Peace.